Welcome to Macroeconomics. I'm Professor Stenard, and I want to help you to succeed. I've put together a little presentation here to help you see the resources and see how it all puts together and get started well. Now, the resources here on the left are assessments, and they're available to help you learn the material and earn points towards your grade in the class. We have Blackboard, we have PowerPoint slides, we have instructional videos from MR University and the instructor produced ones, the worksheets, the textbooks, Inquisitive, MYECONLAB, articles I give you, concept exams, all useful. Now, here is just a reminder of how I calculate your grade at the end of the semester. What I'm looking here is to see how many points you earn in the various categories. I'm going to divide your total by 1,600, and that will determine your grade as a percentage. But there's actually more than 1,600 points to be earned here, so you get to make some economic decisions on where you're going to apply your efforts. I'm going to give you one example here. So your goal is to earn 1,440 points. You can do that a number of different ways, and the important thing, though, is that if you is to do the discussion board, because that lays down some very good examples and a good baseline. Then you choose to put in some efforts into Inquisitive and MYECONLAB to prepare and learn about the things that you're going to be tested for in the concept exams. The Kiva alone is 80 points. That's you might think of it as half a letter grade, and it's a very good thing to do as well, which we'll talk about in another video. Try to earn 250 points per week this summer, and you'll be in great shape when after 5 weeks you'll be just within striking distance of getting an A in the class. All right, so the example I'm going to walk through is about gross domestic product, or GDP. There's other chapters, other concepts, exams to do as well, but I thought by using a specific one it would help you. Most of the topics you study in macroeconomics have all of the resources available which are described in this tutorial. So if we take a look inside of Blackboard, which is your first resource, you see a whole list of things that you can use, and you can follow those tabs to navigate where you need to go. Then inside of PowerPoints, if you look through the PowerPoint presentations, you'll see that each of them are named after the concept exam. So if you're preparing for the concept exam of GDP, you'd find that PowerPoint presentation there. When you opened up that PowerPoint presentation, you'd find that there was lecture slides that would explain it. There was formulas, there were examples, there's questions in there, and that's a good open view of it. Then there's also instructional videos if you like to learn that way. So we've got the links in there for MR University, for instance, about gross domestic product. We have videos that I made in my web channel, Economics is Everywhere. We've got playlists for macroeconomics and final exam questions and answers that I've walked through with various questions, so it's very useful. In addition, we have study guides, and this is one for GDP, for instance. So if I take a minute to fill in the blanks, you could understand more about GDP. So the gross domestic product is an economic indicator. The first economic indicator we studied is GDP, which stands for gross domestic product. It's the value of a nation's aggregate production for the year. It's often equated with the standard of living for that country's citizens, especially in regards to per capita GDP, which is calculated by dividing total GDP by the population. The GDP is useful in three main ways. First, when comparing it to other countries. Second, by comparison to its other time periods. And third, by indirectly indicating changes in the price level, also known as inflation. The GDP is a trailing indicator. The GDP is used to identify a recession, which is at least 2 consecutive declining quarters of the GDP. The GDP has its limitations, however, and neglects significant production taking place, like household activities, such as subsistence farming and self-reliance. It neglects to measure illicit activities that typify the underground economy and black market. Additionally, the GDP doesn't consider, among other things, pollution, life expectancy, crime, political freedom, happiness, all sorts of things. The tradition, which are important considerations when evaluating the typical living standards in a region. There's also articles that will help you understand more about GDP, and I include those, and not only that, but all sorts of economic ones. There's one about Hayek. Then the textbook is useful. So we have a variety of textbooks to choose from, and this particular screenshot is of the OpenStax textbook that we use as a resource. Think of the textbook as a resource for you to learn about this material, but just one of the resources. Just like the videos and the other things that I've mentioned are resources, your objective is to understand GDP and be able to use it to see its limitations, weaknesses, but as well as its strengths and uses and why it's important. All right. And then there's another great resource, Inquisitive. And for this summer, the Inquisitive code is 225594. Just link on through Blackboard into this, or follow that URL. You'll want to make sure that you sign up for my Macroeconomics Summer 2020 class, which has that code, and you'll click on Inquisitive and you can get started and do the ones. If you're doing the ones on GDP, then you can see that in order to get ready for the concept exams of gross domestic product, which is the Q8 GDP quiz concept exam, that tracks over to Chapter 6 in Inquisitive, the Introduction to Macroeconomics and Gross Domestic Product. So if you're since you only get to take the concept exam once, you should save the concept exam for last. You should do the Inquisitive and the MYECONLAB to learn about it. You should do the work studies and the PowerPoints to learn about it. You should do the study guides to confirm that you know it. And then when you're ready, you take the concept exam and you show that you know it. MYECONLAB is a great resource. I made a list in here of all the different chapters in order. You can see that the GDP is Chapter 5 in MYECONLAB. You'll simply click on the link in Blackboard. You'll need an access code that you paid for when you got the textbook, and by buying the textbook you got an access code for free inside of it if you bought the textbook new from the bookstore. The other sources to get the access code are many, but you want to make sure that you get an access code that is compatible with Blackboard, because this is a Blackboard-based course. Okay, so that is how to do MYECONLAB. You'll simply link on it. Once you're in, you'll just click on whichever assignment that you're going to work on. If it would be Chapter 5 in this case for GDP, and you do the three things. There's for pretty much every chapter I have key terms, a video, and a dynamic study module. So Chapter 2, same thing. There's a video, there's key terms, and then there's a dynamic study module. And by doing those, you earn points, and once you earn those points, then you also have an understanding of the material that gives you what you need to know to do well in the concept exam. The concept exam itself, there it is, Q8 GDP quiz. So once you're ready, you click on it. You only get one shot at these. The questions are difficult, but not difficult if you're well prepared. And you have lots of time to take it, but you should prepare yourself for those by taking Inquisitive as much as you want, MYECONLAB as much as you want, and then when you get to GDP, you get one shot at it to show that you know it. All right. In this example of GDP, you would have earned points towards your grade while you were understanding GDP better and applying this economic measure to production, growth, inflation, recessions, changes in standard of living, and so much more. So, for instance, by doing the MYECONLAB Chapter 5 unit, you would have earned 40 points. By doing the Inquisitive Chapter 6, you would have earned 10 points. By doing the GDP concept exam, you would have earned 20 points. and using GDP and related concepts correctly in the discussion board, you would have earned 100 points. So right there, you would have earned 170 points for that one chapter. There's 20 chapters in the book. I've only assigned some of them, but you can certainly sink your teeth into those that you want to, and you can easily see that you could put together 1,440 points this semester. But you've got to produce and show that you know it, and use it, and have a good life afterwards. You can do it. Thank you very much.